Okay, I've been trying to film this video for like multiple days now, but the lighting's never been right because it's summertime and the sun doesn't set for like hours, so I haven't been able to film because this window creates too much light. And now, as it is Wednesday and I need this video out like tomorrow, I'm just filming in front of my window, even though it provides, as you can see, way too much light. I can't stop it, okay? I wish I could fight the sun, but I'm a bit too busy right now. So we're getting this. Hopefully this issue will be fixed by the next time I film a video. Not necessarily next week's video, because that's going to be a different video, because I'm going to film it all now because I'm busy. But this should be fixed soon, hopefully. But I've rambled enough. This is a long enough preamble. We're going to be talking about the fact that I went to New York, and it was truly a magical, wonderful experience. Even though the way I will recount it will not make it seem as magical as it was in my heart, but it was. Trust me, it was magical. I love New York, and it was amazing, and like, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. I had so much fun. It was... I just love New York so much. But we're gonna get into that because this video is going to be long. Throughout these videos, there will also be a lot of photos that I took throughout the trip because I took over 700 photos, and some of them I think are nice and will provide context as to what I saw, because I don't remember a lot of the names of the things I saw. There will be a card, and I'm pretty sure this corner, if I split it into multiple days, because I was there for like 6 days, so it would make a lot of sense if I just split it into 6 videos and like stretch this story time for all that it's worth, and therefore I probably don't have to make a video for like a good month or so, and that sounds nice. That'll be fun. There'll be cards there. There'll probably be something at the end screen, but let's start with the first day, day 1. Sadly, this trip to New York wasn't just I just have tons of money, I'm just gonna take myself to New York. It was not that simple. It was a field trip with my drama program at my school, so we had to go with like the teacher and a chaperone and a bunch of other kids from my class. And that's what I'm going to refer to them as in this video story time thing. There's gonna be a teacher, then there's gonna be a chaperone. I'm gonna talk about them a lot because they got on my nerves. There were 13 of us kids, and there were 2 chaperones, and we had a flight that was so badly planned. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, because we had to get to the airport at like 8 o'clock because our flight was at 10, like Tuesday the 26th, and we would arrive in New York on Wednesday because west to east coast time travel, and we would arrive there at like 6 a.m. and like, in theory, that sounds like a lot of time. You know, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that's like 8 hours on the flight that you can sleep. But like I said, time travel, it was not 8 hours. Really, the flight was only 5 hours, which like, it wasn't the flight length that was the issue. It was the issue that as soon as we hit the ground in New York, we had to just go. Because we were going with like a tour guide and a tour like program. So we had like this nice shuttle service and like a tour guide there to like guide us around New York and tell us like all the educational stuff about it. So it's not like bad enough that we have a red eye. And I'm fine with red eyes. I love red eyes because usually once you get off a red eye, you can sleep. But that was not the case in this scenario. I don't know who thought taking 13 teenagers and putting them on a flight, a 5-hour flight that would give us at maximum 5 hours of sleep to go through a full like 12-hour day of walking through New York was a good idea, but it wasn't, and that person should be fired because it was just so awful the first day, because I truly had like, I was not conscious for like any part of it. I was awake, but my brain was so off because you get on the flight and apparently there was a lot of turbulence, but I slept through a lot of it because I was like not messing with that. Like, I was in the middle seat because we were in like an alphabetical order, and like I just happened to be stuck with the middle seat, and it was fine. I don't care about the middle seat, but like the middle seat's not that comfortable, but I tried to sleep through it. And I very much remember waking up in the middle of the flight and them saying, "Flight attendants, please like sit in your seats." And I was like, if they're telling the flight attendants to sit down, then something bad's happening, and I don't feel like I should be awake for that. I don't want to deal with that, so I went back to sleep. But I really didn't sleep that long or at all. I slept maybe about 4 hours, and those 4 hours were rough because it was on a plane. But then we get off, We get to the airport. I very much wanted Jamba Juice because there was a Jamba Juice in the airport, but we couldn't make it there because we had to go to our hotel, and it was so... That was like the first thing that day that got me already like, oh wow, I'm like not having anything right now. Put me in not the best of moods because I love Jamba Juice. I don't get Jamba Juice on the daily, but when I like go on vacations, I get Jamba Juice for breakfast. That's what I do. Get a nice smoothie bowl and like some Belgian waffles, and that's what I have to start my day. But then they do this bullshit where they're like, no, we have to go to our hotel, which by the way was in Jersey. And I get like Jersey and New York are not that far, but when you're going to like mostly tour around Manhattan, and your hotel's in Jersey, that's so far. It was so obnoxiously far. So we had to like, we landed in Newark, then we drove to our hotel, and we had this tour guide for like a hot second who wasn't a real tour guide. We had like this main tour guide, and I'm not gonna say his name because I'm not here to like expose anyone. I'm only exposing the type of people they are, not who they are. But we had this tour guide from like the airport to the hotel. I have no idea what her name is because she never said her name. She just went on this whole thing about, oh, I was born in New York and I've grown up here all my life, so I love giving tours here. But she wasn't our tour guide and it made no sense. And she was so like, her voice was so high and so energetic at like 6 o'clock in the morning, when really like our time it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We were not having it. Mostly me, I was not having it because I was like, oh my god, if you don't shut up I will slap you. It was the most annoying thing to hear the first thing in the morning when this lady's just like yapping at you about New York and her voice is just so annoying. Like when you've had no breakfast and like nothing in your system, because I slept through the food court on the flight at 6 o'clock, really 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, not in the best of moods. But then we get to the hotel. There's like 3 other schools that are on this trip with us, and I'll get into them later, but they were not the nicest people to trip with. Like, they really did not like us, but you know, with good reason. But we get there, there's this like array of food, and our teacher was trying to make it seem like it was this wonderful thing because she told us like before we got on the flight that like, oh, we have this wonderful news, you guys are gonna have a free breakfast this morning, because we were under the impression that because we were coming in like that morning, we were not able to check into our rooms yet, so we wouldn't be able to have breakfast. But there was already one of the schools there that arrived like the night before. Like, you know, logically, you get there that night so you can sleep and be ready for the next day. But, like, our school didn't do that. But they were there already, and they were able to have their breakfast, so we could just join in on their breakfast and didn't have to pay for our own breakfast that morning. I already wasn't on board with that because I wanted Jamba Juice. I knew that there was Jamba Juice there, and I was very much set on having Jamba Juice, and like I said, we didn't have Jamba Juice, but it's fine. We get there, and the food is, you know, disgusting. Because it's not even like complimentary breakfast. Like, I've been to hotels that have complimentary, like, continental, whatever it's called, breakfasts, where it's just like bagels and muffins and cereal and like all that. I've had that. That's fine. This was not that. They were trying to be like high class and fancy, but really this hotel was just sort of like a bougier Good Night Inn, where it was like the same quality, but it just tried to make itself look fancier, but it really didn't provide any better quality. It wasn't like, the food was so bad. Like, the eggs is what really threw me off, because I love to eat eggs for breakfast. Eggs, bacon, like, I'm good to go. But the eggs were so clearly powdered eggs, and they were made wrong. They either had like way too much powder or way too much water or something like that, where it just tasted disgusting. It tasted like you were drinking eggs, and it was like, no thank you, this is disgusting, I'm never having breakfast here again. So I didn't. And that was like, you know, the second thing that was sort of ruining my day that day. No, third. The first tour guide lady was definitely the second thing. I was like, I will slap you if you don't shut up. She was second. This breakfast was third. I was already like, you know, up to here with the patience that I had for the day, and like, it really just got worse from there. So we all have our wonderful breakfast. I try to take a nap the second that I start falling asleep. They're like, okay, we gotta go. And I'm like, that's great. We get on the bus. Our tour guide, he's like probably a wonderfully nice person. He didn't like our group, you know, I get it. I don't like our group either, but like, he wasn't the most accommodating person on the first day. Like, we had maybe 4 hours of sleep and he wanted to just bombard us with facts. Like, that was our like main lecture learning day, because it was like, it wasn't just like a fun field trip. It was all about like learning about the culture and like the history and like the people and all that. It was like a learning field trip. But like, that was the main day he wanted to pack in all the learning. And I don't know why, because I wasn't listening at all. I was so like out of it, because like, I don't know how you can pay attention when you're running on 4 hours of sleep and basically no food. So I was sort of dying at this point. And he was just sort of like talking and talking and talking and talking about like, this is where this happened in New York, la 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 la. And I was like dying. But I was like sitting on the nice bus. It was air conditioned, which was nice because we went during this awful heat wave in New York. It was so hot and humid. It was kind of disgusting, but like, it's the better of the heats that I've had. Like, I usually go to California for vacation and their like dry desert heat like murders me. So like, humid heat is way more bearable in my opinion, because like, at least it's not the sun like burning you alive. So it wasn't the worst with the heat, but like, we were still dying. So the bus was nice with its air conditioning. I was sitting there, I was taking photos. We get off the bus and our first stop is Central Park, which is like not the worst thing to do on the first day, even though our tour guide very clearly said we're not doing any hiking, but we very much had to walk up a very steep hill, like with a lot of effort, and I don't know what else hiking is but that. So it was like, it wasn't a lot of work, but it was a lot more work than I was willing to do that very early morning, because it was like 10 o'clock at this point. Like, I was so dead when I basically had no food in me, but it was fine. Because we were in Central Park, he told us a bunch of information that I, again, do not remember because I was dead. We look around, we saw the fountain from Enchanted. Lovely movie. I honestly don't remember anything that we did because my brain was just so shut off. There was a guy with bubbles. He was cool. That's the extent of what I remember. We saw the theater that they do Shakespeare in the Park in. That was cool, but I was also sort of really tired at that point because this was towards the end of our like Central Park thing and I was sort of dying. We saw the Natural History Museum. I think that's what it's called, the one from like Night of the Museum. That was pretty cool. We didn't get to go in, we just saw the outside. That was a lot of what we did in New York. Like, we couldn't go into things, but we saw like the outside of it. Like, that was cool, I guess. I don't know. A thing that our tour guide did a lot that, like, I completely skipped over. At the beginning, before we went into Central Park, like, when we got off of the bus, we stood in front of, like, this hotel apartment area, and apparently that was the place where John Lennon was shot. And, like, it's not that I don't care. It's just that that's not a thing that you should be telling people at basically 10 o'clock in the morning when they have had no food or sleep of any kind. That's not the news that you want to hear right now, you know? It was sort of like it just makes me very unsympathetic to what you're trying to say, because I'm like, I am dying. Please stop telling us sad things at this moment. And that was a really annoying thing, because we had to stand on the sidewalk across the street from like the hotel apartment area. I still don't really know what we were looking at because I was not paying attention that day. But like, that's a thing that our tour guide liked to do a lot. Like, we would get off the bus and we would just like stand outside in some like walkway area and he would just sort of lecture at us for like 20 minutes to tell us things. And it's like, it's not that I don't care, but just standing in the New York heat for 20 minutes while you're lecturing at us makes me not really care about what you have to say, you know? It becomes more of an issue later on, but it's not the funnest experience to have. Then, after Central Park, we get back on the bus and we go to Rockefeller Center. And like, that's a place we would spend like a lot of time throughout like this whole trip. I don't know why we spent so long here, because that was supposed to be like our lunch break. I'm guessing they just didn't want us to do a lot because they understood that we were dying. So we were there for like 4 hours for our lunch break, and we really had nothing to do. And I was very much like, I get why they did it. I just don't really think it was the best idea, because like the first day that you're there, you never just want to throw kids into an area for a like prolonged amount of time. You want to do that towards the end, once they know what they want to see that they haven't seen yet, you know? So me and my friends, we just sort of walked around because we didn't really know what to do. We went to get food in like the center. We went to Times Square. We went to see like Radio City Music Hall, all that jazz. Like, we really didn't have anything to do for 4 hours. But that also meant that we had to be, like, awake for 4 hours doing basically nothing, and it was kind of not fun. Not, like, being in New York and doing all that. I had fun there. This was, like, probably the most awake that I had been the whole day. But, like, being awake in general at that time was not fun. It was nice. We went to Times Square. Our tour guide was upset that we went to Times Square because we were supposed to go like as a group later, which we never actually did. So they made it clear once we were like on the bus from Central Park to Rockefeller Center that like if you want to buy anything, if you want to get anything, you should get it when you're there, because there's no guarantee that you're coming back. So we took that to mean we see all these things around us like Times Square, we're gonna go there and we're going to like experience it, because we don't trust you guys to bring us back here later. So we went there. It was, I don't know how to describe it without making it seem like I didn't care about it, because it wasn't like I was not impressed by it. It just felt like normal, and I don't really know how to explain that other than like, I don't know. I was talking to my friend like about like towards the end of the trip, not when my friend's there. She called me when I was in New York, and she was like, you seem like you're having a lot of fun in New York, you know, this is like the happiest I've ever seen you. I'm like, yeah, like New York just has like this feeling about it. Like it just feels so much like home. It doesn't feel like a vacation. Like when I go to California, it's like, oh, this fun whirlwind of a vacation. But when I went to New York, it just felt like I've like been there my whole life. Like, shut up, you're ruining a moment. It was just like, I don't know. New York really like just felt not like life-changing, or nothing was like a wow, not because it wasn't like wowing. It's not like it wasn't amazing. It was just seemed like normal. I don't know how to explain it, but basically when we went to Times Square, it was just like, it was cool. I wasn't like freaking out over it though, because it just felt like normal, but it was really cool. Like there were the steps. I just basically related everything in New York to Glee, because that's really the only reference point that I've had. Like I'm not as invested in like classic movies and like media like I should be, because apparently there's like a lot of famous movies and stuff about New York that I just haven't seen. So whenever they would make a reference to like some famous movie, they were like, this was here, and everybody was like, wow, and I was like, I don't know that movie. But I knew Glee, and they have a song, I Love New York. I have it on my phone. I listened to it like every day when I was there. And in that music video, there were so many places that they went to, and we went to all those places, and I took a photo in all those places because I love Glee. The moment when the whole Glee club first gets to New York for nationals and they're on like the red steps in Times Square, I was there. It was such a moment, because like I love Glee. So it was lovely being there. But I really don't remember what we did for 4 hours. Like, I think we went shopping. We mostly just, like, walked around, like, 8th Avenue and stuff. Like, I don't know. I really can't remember what we did. After our 4-hour lunch break in Rockefeller, we went to dinner, which made sense. But we went to this Italian restaurant, I think it was Ciao Bella. I will put the name on the screen because their food was delicious. Their food was delicious. The people that worked there were lovely. Like, they had, like, the most, like, beautiful, like, Boston Italian accents. Like, what you imagine, like, a stereotypical, like, Boston Italian accent to be. But it was, like, so beautiful. I loved their accents. It was lovely. It was, like, the best meal that we really had in New York. Like, the best, like, set dinner. Because within this tour group, like, we had, like, paid for dinner and breakfast Lunch was on us, except for like one day when we had to go find dinner on our own because they couldn't make reservations somewhere and they gave us $15 for dinner. The dinner... Okay, the dinners that we had in New York were so stupid because they were always at like 5:30, which is so fucking early. Like, I get that some people have dinner at 5:30. That's fine. You do you. I usually have dinner at like 7, and especially because we weren't getting back at the hotel until like 11, like 10 or 11 o'clock. Like, that's 5 hours since dinner. When you're going to sleep, you're like hungry. And that's never a fun thing to do. So I always had an issue with that, but whatever. This Italian food was delicious. But the way that they had us do dinner, at least for like the first 2 nights, which is this dinner, was so weird. Like, when we were on the bus going into town, like from our hotel that morning, our tour guide gave us the sheet of paper. And this was another thing I really wasn't paying attention to, where he would like, there would be like lists of different foods that we could order so that they could like pre-make it easily so that like they could feed like the 50 of us that were there. And you would just like write your name and like put a check next to the box of like the food that you wanted, except they were just names and it was really hard to remember what any of the food was unless you already knew that beforehand. Like, it was a bunch of different pasta dishes, but it was all like pasta, like Italian words to describe pasta. And like, our tour guide explained it before he passed down like the list, but like I said, I was not paying attention. I was very tired that day. And like, our group was sitting in the very, very back of the bus, so once the list got to us, we could not remember what any of these foods were. So I played it safe and I just got a cheese pizza because I'm lactose intolerant, which is an issue that will come up again and again and again, and it makes me so angry, but it's fine. So I didn't want to try my hand at any of these pasta dishes that could just be like doused in cheese. Sadly, a lot of my friends, like in like our main 6 of us who like sat at a table and had dinner together, are lactose intolerant, and they got pasta, and the pasta was like coated in cheese, and they were really not having it. They're kind of dying by the end of the night. This is what happens when you just give us names and no descriptions of things. You would think that if we have basically been planning and paying for this trip for like a year and a half now, that they would know which restaurants they have like already pre-booked for us and could have like sent us the menu beforehand so that we would know what we wanted to order. You know, it just seems like a really simple thing that they could have done, where we could have known what restaurants we were eating at before we got there, because they had to have known, like all the tour, like, in charge people. So why couldn't we have known? It just seems really stupid. But the dinner was lovely. The pizza was delicious. This is when my teacher starts getting on my nerves, because I eat this pizza. It's maybe like a small or medium. It's like a 10-inch to 12-inch pizza. It's not big at all. And I eat the whole pizza because I'm hungry, because we are dying after basically having no breakfast and like a tiny lunch that whole day. So I eat the pizza as a hungry person would do. And like, I am a tall person. According to official documents, I am 6 feet tall. I say I'm 6'1". Is that true? Who knows? I say I'm 6'1", and if you believe me, that's all that you really need to do to make something true. But I'm very tall. So I'm a person who needs to eat a lot of food. That's just how things work. You need more calories to support more muscle in a larger body. So it would just make sense for a taller person like me to eat a lot of food. I don't even think that I eat a lot of food. I used to eat a lot more when I was younger, but now I just eat when I am hungry, like in this scenario. But even if you're just like looking based off of assumptions and appearances, you would think, yes, this human eats a lot of food. But my teacher wants to come at me. Not necessarily come at me, because every time that my teacher and the chaperone got on my nerves, I don't think it was intentional, but they were still being bitchy anyways. But my teacher comes at me and she's like, wow, you finished that whole pizza? And I'm like, yes, bitch, yes I did. I'm hungry and the pizza was not big. Like, what is this underlying tone that you're trying to give me with this message? Like, what does that mean? Yes, I ate the whole pizza. Like, it's not here. Did I just like throw it into outer space? What are you talking about? That was the first thing that she did that got on my nerves. But that's fine. We moved on, and then we went to the Empire State Building. And like, that was cool. Again, I don't really know how to describe things without making it seem like I didn't care about them. It was just like, it was very nice. The city was very beautiful. I took a lot of photos of it, but it wasn't like a wow. Like, I don't know, I didn't like lose my mind over it like I do with a lot of other things. This was the only place that we like bought like the photos that they take of you. Like when you go to a lot of places in New York, they will like take a photo like professionally with like a green screen and a backdrop so that you could like have a physical photo to like show that you were there. But like they're almost, not almost, they were always at least $25. So this was the only one that we bought because it was the one of like the main 6 of us. That's our like main friend group within like the larger like class that we had for our school. Like it was usually the 6 of us that were together. This was the only photo that we took as a group, and it was on the first day before we all started like getting on each other's nerves and wanting to like murder each other. But it was a cute photo. And now we all have like a memory from the Empire State Building. At the gift shop of the Empire State Building is when I bought my first souvenir. And if you want to see all the things I bought in New York, because I bought a lot of shit, there's gonna be a haul at the end of this series. So it probably will not be out if you're watching this like within even a month of when this comes out. But if you're watching this far along in the future, there will be a card here and probably a link in the description. And that was the last thing that we did for the day because it was late and we were all dead and tired. So we drive all the way back to our hotel in Jersey. We all get into our rooms and then we sleep with our 24-hour security people outside our doors, which really makes no sense. Like, I think that they added that for the parents to feel that we were safe, but really there was no point in having the security guards because they just sort of sat in the hallway like all night while we were like in our room sleeping, and they would just tell our tour guide if someone like went outside their rooms to like get ice or do something or whatever, and like they didn't stop anyone, they just made notes of who left, and like they didn't even like write any names. They just said, oh, a person was out like 3 times during the night or something, and it just made no sense on why they were there, especially since like we were in Jersey. Where were we gonna go? Like, I would get it if we were in some like hotel that was close to like New York City where things are happening, but when you're in like Jersey, like literally in the middle of nowhere, Jersey, there's nothing to do. We were not gonna sneak out. Like, I don't know why they were there. There seemed to be no point. And a lot of our hotel rooms were on the ground floor, and as we found out like a few days into the tour, our windows opened, so if anyone really wanted to leave, they could just leave out the window. So they really had no purpose being there, but whatever makes the parents happy, I guess. But that's the end of the first day. I'm definitely cutting this into days because, as I can see from my timer, this has gone on too long. So click the card or the end screen to see the next day if you care. I swear it gets more interesting. I get more excited. I don't know what this means, but I get more excited because we do more exciting things, and I could talk about a day when I wasn't literally so tired I felt like I was dying. It's the mailman. Thank you, mailman. Is there a package? What just Stalin at? There is a package! Wow. Thank you, mailman.